Welcome to part 11 of Thrawn's Revenge. Last time we finished off the New Republic, even killing Luke Skywalker. We had a number of battles against the purple guys in purple space, which ranged from disastrous to inconclusive, but ultimately didn't really matter. We balanced things out by also killing Palpatine. Hopefully that will get us one step closer to taking over the galaxy. Then I tried multiple times to take the space over a planet called Thanos, and kept failing because the enemy dared to defend it, and now we're just trying again. This time we get an encounter where the enemy's gigantic battle cruiser thing isn't here. They've still got their big secutor thing, but as I mentioned last time, they're weaker than they look because they don't have guns over that surface, they're just a big target. So we're going to do the usual cheeky thing where we blow up most of the guns on a ship and then just leave it hanging there to mock it as we go on to be slightly more efficient by blowing up guns on other ships first. Not sure if that actually is more efficient, it just feels like you're doing something. So we blew up those ships, and as you may remember, we'd already taken out most of the space stations in a previous attempt to get to Thanos, so that was easy enough. It said we lost a Syndic, but I just retreated one because the enemy was shooting it with the hypervelocity gun, so that was just to save it. Now I have to go find it. It's somewhere down in Eridu space, I think. Anyway, we go on to attack the surface of Thanos, but really nothing happened here because the enemy only had static buildings that don't spawn units or anything, so there was nothing here. We just rolled in and blew everything up for free. But taking Thanos wasn't my objective. What I actually want to do is take this Empire planet over to the left, because we're looking for Empire heroes to kill to see what happens if we advance the era. So we hit this space. It's defended by 3 heroic Star Destroyers. One of them's actually a special big one, the one on the left. So perhaps a challenge, but then again, we've got loads of stuff here. You can see my fleet spamming the chaff destroyers since they're cheap but also very effective. And altogether, we can just do the same tactic as before. We just blow up all the guns on stuff, make it useless, and the battle will only become easier and easier as it goes on. One chaff's getting a bit destroyed there, but I'm going to very kindly allow it to leave. And yes, that's about it. Soon we swarm over that Star Destroyer and go on to hit the big heroic one. There's not much it can do against us at this point, especially because its guns just get destroyed instantly. Here's the cinematic view of it going down. So that's a whole load of Imperial officers taken out, but they're not the ones we're looking for. We're looking for the bodyguard of Emperor Palpatine, who supposedly rules the Empire at the moment. And I remembered he had a red face or a red mask on. So it's none of these guys. That means we need to hit the surface. Might as well do that now. Not going to bother defending Thanos because don't actually need it, don't care about it. Let's see what we've got down here. There's one guy leading the enemy force with a weird blue face. That's close enough. There are actually a whole load of Empire heroes down here, as you can see in the top left, and one of them provided a unique experience for us. I was just doing the usual thing, spamming MMTs all over the map, but down this middle lane of the map we encountered a heroic AT-AT that's much more powerful than the usual AT-ATs, and doesn't just die in one hit or 2 hits when the MMTs attack them. I actually lost an MMT and almost lost another one fighting against it. Luckily, I could just bring in loads of MMTs, and that was able to bring this thing down, but there we have it, easily the strongest ground unit we've seen so far. Elsewhere on the map, the other MMTs are just blasting through ATSTs and the like. There's a heroic building for us to take down, shouldn't be too much challenge, and that will allow me to link up both of my groups here and continue rampaging around the map. I couldn't actually find the guy I was looking for, the guy in the very top left with the red and blue mask, but eventually he came to me. I landed an MMT just in the corner of the map on this landing zone, and this bodyguard guy tried to take it down. It didn't go very well for him, and he took quite a few Mega Mazer shots, eventually walked off into the woods, and we had to pursue him there, but even the trees won't save him from this situation. He comes back and dies. And that's our mission objective achieved. We've killed the ruler of the Empire, supposedly. Ending the battle itself took a while because I couldn't find their last building. It was right on the edge of the map, in a bit where I assumed there wouldn't be anything. A heroic tax collection building. I'm sure they were very good at it. With that done, the ground is now taken, and we are treated to a unique sight. We actually lost a Mega Mazer tank. That's something special. The enemy lost loads of heroes, and this weird unit that I didn't even see when we were fighting must have just died off to the Mega Mazer somewhere in the corner. Anyway, the important thing is that we've advanced the era, so it's time to see what happens. You get a message saying that the darned New Republic has gone and killed the Empire or something. Not sure that message is very relevant. It seems to assume it will be the New Republic who takes down the Empire. But the result of the era transition is that now there's another Empire area. It's the Maw over here on the edge of the galaxy, and they're going to try and reinvade the Empire and remake it and such. Happen to have a scout drone right there, so we can take a look now. Here's their new faction leader, this lady with 3 Star Destroyers and a special unit of her own, and 1 unit of stormtroopers on the ground. So not much of a force. It seems unlikely they're going to take the Empire back, and just to stop them from building anything, I thought we might as well go after them right now. They're gradually building space stations and buildings in their Maw somehow, so might as well hit them and see what we can do immediately. I also notice I've been given this new hero right over there on the other side of the galaxy. We'll come back to him a bit later on because he's pretty useful. Right now let's see what's happening with this fight. There are black holes all over the place, but that's only the start of our trouble because they've also got a heroic Executor class Star Destroyer thing, another one of these. Luckily it's sitting in the corner, meaning right now it's not a threat. Therefore, we're going to take our fleet and go to the bottom right-hand corner of the map and try to engage the enemy's regular Star Destroyers. Since they're coming at us on their own, we can easily take them down as long as we stay well out of range of the Executor, which we can. That's the long and short of it, so there goes. One of them just gets annihilated when it tries to challenge us. A little bit later, another one came over, and I decided to look closely at how it was being destroyed without really providing any risk to us whatsoever. Not sure what the Empire are trying to do with this, but it's not going very well for them. They had another one somewhere up near the top right, which we eventually found. But also at that time, the Executor came to life. It started turning towards us. They're going to actually use it, as it turns out. That's a shame, because I thought I might be able to put the whole fleet behind it, out of the line of sight of its guns, and just gradually kill it. But that isn't going to be our destiny, unfortunately. They're going to try. And actually it's going to be harder than the last time we fought an Executor with a regular fleet, because previously we fought it entirely on one flank, so the Executor could only fire half its guns. Here it's actually turned to face us front on almost, so it's going to be firing all of its guns at us here and there, causing massive damage. I tried to sneak behind it, but realised we're just going to get taken out before we can really achieve anything. Might as well go. If we can't completely destroy the thing, there's no point trying to destroy it, since destroying hard points is non-permanent. We'll just leave. We did lose a carrier. It says we lost a Syndic, but I think that just retreated over to Kashyyyk here. And yes, now we'll just plot our attack. We now know it's just the Executor there, for now at least, so I'm going to start whipping out some carriers, ready to start trolling it with fighter spam. But actually, there's another strategy we can try. I brought over our new stealth hero to this side of the galaxy to see what we can do. He has the special trait that he doesn't trigger battles when he arrives in a system. That's his stealth thing. So he can sit here alongside the Star Destroyer. What I wanted to do was land on the surface and try and take it without the Star Destroyer noticing me being there. But it says I'm actually fighting the Star Destroyer, so I thought, oh well, I'll just retreat. But actually no, we are on the surface when the battle starts. We're one guy, blue Han Solo basically. And now we can try and capture the Maw, which is a space station orbiting the black hole or something, I suppose, using just him. Obviously we'll have trouble with vehicles, but we can spam turrets. We've got plenty of money, so all I need to do is run about the map building turrets everywhere, and then use them to kill enemies. Here's an example. An AT-ST starts walking towards us. I quickly slap down an anti-vehicle turret here. We've also got another ability, this EMP thing, which disables vehicles for a while. So now the AT-ST is stuck in range of the turret. I'm going to run away back to another turret I built, just in case the thing ends up chasing me. But we needn't wait for that, as the AT-ST just kind of moonwalks. I guess the EMP doesn't disable them, it just reduces their speed to 0, which looks weird. Anyway, eventually it breaks free, but it's too late. The vehicle turret's made, and now we can take down said vehicle. I continued sprinting on towards the northeast, this time encountering a whole group of AT-STs with no turret pads in sight, so I had to run for it. Luckily our other ability will come in handy. We can press sprint to run at super fast speed and escape from such situations. those ATSTs didn't follow me, so I just went on to the north. I encountered a droidica for some reason, and killed it. It was really weak. It seemed like our blaster went through its shields. Meanwhile, the ATSTs eventually attacked one of the landing pads where our turrets took them down. I discovered on another landing pad the enemy light factory that was making those ATSTs. It's got a gun on it, so I can't attack it without Blue Man dying, but fortunately enough, a turret pad was in range, so I could leave a turret gradually killing the building and move on. I could do the same thing with this tax collection agency, although since it doesn't have a weapon, I could have just very slowly killed it with this guy's blaster. And that was it. There were some stormtroopers somewhere, but they just die because when they try to retreat, they can't go anywhere. We've captured them all. That went surprisingly well, and immediately I'm just like, right, we're going to build a hypervelocity gun underneath the Executor. I think you can see where I'm going with this. Not sure how this one guy is actually doing it, but good luck to him. Soon the construction is complete, and it's time to test this exploit out. I'm going to bring over some fighters, our hero fighters, to combine with our stealth guy, so that we'll have two units that are nice and maneuverable, and also able to take out enemy fighters, since the Executor can spawn interceptors to come and attack us while we're running away from it. So we'll start running away, and we'll start firing our hypervelocity gun, or plasma gun as it's called on the UI. What I wanted to do was disable their engines, but it seems you can't specifically target part of the ship. It just shoots the ship and it randomly damages some hard points all over the place. It doesn't kill them in one hit, which is annoying, so we have to shoot it lots of times to do damage, but we'll just try and see what happens. The interceptors do catch up to us and a fighter battle begins. I'm trying to use my ability here that weakens enemy fighters, but I think it only weakens one squad, so it's not all that useful. The enemy Executor was actually getting close to us, so I eventually ran away from the fighter battle, and indeed the enemy fighters were so numerous that our hero fighter was starting to die, taking them all out. So we're just going to keep running away, and once you're a certain distance from the Executor, it stops sending the fighters against you anyway. That means we've just got a long wait, so it's time for a classic off-ED time-lapse. After an extremely long time, when there was just one hardpoint left, I wanted to show off by sending the fighters in to try and blow up the last couple of percentage points off the health on that thing, which would destroy the entire ship. However, the Executor doesn't have an exposed shield generator, so all this attacking didn't remove any of its shields, meaning our fighters couldn't actually do any damage to it. In the end, we just shot that hardpoint, and there we have it. The Executor falls into the maw, and we win. A nice exploity, but humiliating for the Empire victory. Now there's a new message as this does progress the era, although it doesn't have that much to say. Apparently Thrawn's going to come back, so we just have to wait for that. It also mentions some external threat is going to come and kill us all, and we need to be ready for it. No mention of what that is or when it's showing up, but we'll just keep an eye out. There is a new guy who's now in charge of the Empire, even though the Empire doesn't really exist right now. But it also says that he gets put in charge when Natasi, the woman in that Executor, resigns. But now she's dead and probably crushed in a singularity, so I don't know if that actually advances the era or not. We have got, though, a new faction to deal with. That neutral area in the middle of the map has turned yellow, so something's going on there. I'm going to send the fleet I did have fighting the transitory mists people to go and deal with that right now. I've also got some new heroes spawning at our capital, and they can set up on the other side of the yellow area, ready to link up with the fleet once we make a path. In this case, I wanted to try and use our spy guy for some more exploits, since after our success at the Maw, I wanted more. The enemy do have a decent fleet above the planet here, nothing we couldn't take down with our own fleet, but I thought just for no reason, let's hit the ground with one guy to see if we can take it when there's a garrison here. There were no buildings, which means the enemy won't spawn new units, that will help us. However, I couldn't find any build pads, and that's going to be a bit of a problem. There are some build pads on the map, but they weren't anywhere near where I started. nicely, the fog of war disappears. I think this is because there are no buildings on the map. The game kind of says this battle's over and removes the fog of war just so you can conclude things swiftly. And that let me know that there was a heavy vehicle factory I could go capture. I also noticed that there are some tornadoes just killing enemy infantry here and there, so that's handy. As long as we stay away from them, this should work to our advantage. Once I get to the heavy vehicle factory, there's an enemy AT-ST guarding it, but we just use our disable machines ability, the EMP thing, to run past it, and then we quickly capture the factory. We turn it on and the factory immediately starts churning out these AT-PT walkers, which, while worse than the AT-ST, are going to be enough to bring this guy down, especially since he can't move. The factory will gradually make us 5 of these walkers, so we'll have a little army to work with, hopefully making up for our lack of build pads at the moment. The enemy now do just rush over to fight us, so it's going to be our freely spawned army against their actual army. There is a little bit of trouble since the enemy do have numbers on their side. I wanted to use my hero guy to kite the enemy, but annoyingly the enemy just switched target onto the PTs, and they are gradually going to be killed. We do some damage to the enemy, but not enough. I need to get my hero out of there since he really needs to not die, whereas the PTs are perfectly sacrificable. Our hero can take down infantry pretty well on his own, so we'll leave him in the corner there killing him while the enemy are distracted blowing up the PTs. After that though we need to run. We don't want him to fight the AT-STs since they shoot these little anti-infantry missiles that are dangerous. As you can see, we eventually did find build pads, and that's going to secure things for us. The enemy infantry run into a wall of fire, and the remaining stuff just surrenders. They couldn't be bothered to go for it. So great, we've captured another planet using one-man exploits. This doesn't really help us very much. I could build a hypervelocity gun underneath the fleet in orbit, but the fleet isn't that powerful, so we don't really need to do that, and it takes a long time as well. So I'm going to, instead of waiting for that, just focus on moving on. I sent a scout droid to check out the next planet over, and I'll do the same thing with our rogue. And in both cases we see the same garrison as we just fought down on the surface. Also both cases have no buildings, no space stations either, just slightly different fleets due to the presence of heroes at various points. So it looks like this is a very scripted copy-paste sort of spawn from the enemy. We may not even need to fight them at all. They might just sit here and they can't build any units with their current setup. But just for no reason I felt like doing another exploit battle with our hero. This time around we had build pads right outside the initial landing zone, so we just set them up and then wait for the enemy's initial rush to come and get itself killed. Nice and easy. Gonna use our guy, Ashik his name actually is, to lure the enemy's walkers onto our vehicle turret rather than onto our infantry turret if possible. We even managed to find another abandoned heavy vehicle factory, so we get some more pod walkers for this fight, and they helped us clear things up. The fight didn't end though after it seemed like the enemy had stopped attacking, and that was because the enemy had various infantry units in bunkers around the map. Here was one. I thought I might be able to deal with it by setting up this turret right next to it. The enemy opened fire, but as you can see they're opening fire on the ground thanks to the old line of sight. While it looks like I'm burning the bunker in return, this doesn't count. The fire is technically being stopped by the ridge as well. So this exchange is doing nothing and will last forever. I can't run in with Ashik because he'll just get shot. The super rapid fire effect that the bunkers give the infantry makes them pretty powerful. However, I learned against another bunker that my pod walkers can slightly outrange the infantry inside, so we can very slowly blow the bunkers up. After doing it to that one, I came to try and resolve the situation with the turret. But again, we can't get the line of sight. The fact that the bunker is slightly elevated above the normal ground level is just endlessly problematic. So I fell back and spent a while trying to find the magic angle. I eventually got it with this one pod walker. There is a way to slowly damage the bunker. Now we just have to wait for an age for the bunker to explode. And once the infantry starts spraying out, we'll spray them down with our pod walkers' guns, and Ashik indeed. And I also set up a repair pad nearby so I could just constantly repair these pod walkers if I needed to. Once all those guys were dead, the battle still didn't end, and that was because there are more bunkers. There are actually 2 more to deal with. I encountered one here, but this time it was extra difficult since they'd bothered to set up turrets on the nearby build pad. There's actually another one on the other side of the bunker as well. So attacking here is difficult. Thought maybe I could bring the turret down since it's anti-infantry using my pods, but you get the thing where turrets have a high luck stat and every shot's just missing, and I'm gradually being shot both by the turret and the infantry nearby, so I want to try and find a safer way of doing it. I slapped down some repair pads thinking I can just run in, take a few shots, run away and repair, and eventually destroy their turrets. However, the enemy was as bored as I was at this point and they just surrendered. They just couldn't deal with this, so that was great. There we go, another planet taken using just one guy. Not really an achievement, since we could have just done it normally without any trouble, but we did it. Now for a normal space battle nearby. Didn't wait to build the hypervelocity gun below them this time. I just went in for a standard fight. We've got a few hero star destroyers, actually just the one, and a few hero smaller units. There's an interdictor and this sphere thing that you might see around the place. I think is off the screen at the moment. As for this fight, I wasn't paying much attention, pretty much just left our guys to fight as they needed to, doing the usual focus firing but not focusing too much on what we were shooting at, and eventually we killed everything. I think we did lose a Corvette or two here and there. There's that pod thing I mentioned just floating into the battle. Not sure what it's aiming to achieve, but it doesn't achieve it. So down goes one of the aliens leaders, the Duscan League these guys are called. Some sort of alien species that I guess we didn't know about before or something. But they've just got a load of Imperial weaponry that goes down just as easily as any other faction we fought, so nothing really too exciting here. I think we lost all three of those corvettes that it says, but the carrier jumped away over to Kuat, so we'll get that guy back. So yes, that's the first of many victories. As I mentioned, most of the space fleets over these yellow planets are just the same, and the ground armies are all exactly the same. So not too much excitement to be had fighting the yellow guys, unfortunately. I expected a little bit more. I will kill a few more of them because we're supposed to just be waiting for something to happen at this point. And indeed, a few things will actually happen while we're waiting, including the biggest space battle of the campaign so far. So join me for that next time.